Representative Roberts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Emmett, I'm over here in the Crawford box, left field bleacher seats.
It's a good place to be for the playoffs.
Yes, sir, it is. I want to begin by thanking you for the tremendous leadership that you showed through this event. And I think more importantly, for the prompt decision making, not always asking for permission, being willing to ask for forgiveness if necessary, in putting citizens before a lot of bureaucratic red tape. As you know, my district is about 100% unincorporated. We don't have George R. Brown. We don't have the NRG Center. What we had were our independent school districts, our Klein Independent School District opening the multipurpose center, Cy-Fair Independent School District opening the Berry Center, Spring ISD opening one of its schools. We have our churches, all of whom stepped forward without being asked, and they were our shelters. They were our disaster relief, our distribution centers. My question is this: are there any provisions that you're aware of or requests that have been made to reimburse our independent school districts in my area or any unincorporated area or any area and our churches?
Well, Representative, that's first, thank you for the comments, but you're bringing up a situation. If we didn't have the help of those school districts and the churches and other private groups to step up emergency shelters, even if they're shelter of last resort, we wouldn't have gotten through this event, and we won't get through future events. So it is important that organizations like those keep track of their cost, submit them through the county. The state has, I can't say enough about the great job that Chief Kidd and his operation do in managing. But all that needs to flow through the county, and hopefully we can get reimbursement because these are set up, typically in advance. We know generally who's going to be setting up a shelter and where the best locations are. And then, of course, you didn't bring it up, but now that we're in the recovery stage, the disaster itself is almost easier than the recovery, because now we have to get people back on their feet, and we have the disaster recovery centers and locations, and we have 14 of those across Harris County, and then we have the DSNAP locations for supplemental nutrition, and we've seen thousands and thousands of people in line seeking assistance. We can't do that all with government buildings, and schools get to be a problem because school starts, and if we have emergencies during the summer, it's a little bit easier because we have school facilities, but this one doesn't apply. So yes, if they'll just come through the process, and we will put that forward and get as much reimbursement as we can.
Great, thank you, because it's obvious to say they don't budget disaster relief in their budgets. I'd like to talk a little bit and get your input on mitigation, on really the future. As you know, I have Cypress Creek all around my district, and which contributed to flooding our Precinct 4 courthouse. Are there any funds or any plans related to what my folks call unclogging the sink of Cypress Creek in terms of dredging it, or what would be necessary to obtain the funds to dredge, to widen it, and to turn it into really an adequate reservoir of sorts?
It's yours, Cagle. That's Cagle. Well, I know Commissioner Cagle works on Cypress Creek all the time. And the third reservoir has been mentioned, and frankly, the third reservoir would help a lot. But what we're going to have to do, and that's why I mentioned billions of dollars earlier, that's all part of it. We need to get serious about a regional, not just a county, but a regional water plan, so that we have mitigation. We're going to have to have more detention around the area, and we're going to have to make sure that people don't build in areas where they're going to flood, because otherwise we're just going to be buying them out time after time. That's going to take a state effort, that's going to take this committee. And I've been around a long time, and anytime you talk about water plan in the state of Texas, it's a good idea, whether you're talking about getting water to West Texas, or in this case, we're talking about keeping water out of our areas, out of our urban areas. But I think it's going to take some heroes at the state level in the legislature to step up and say, we need a comprehensive plan. And clearly, Cypress Creek would be part of that plan.
Thank you. One last question. I have a question for Commissioner Radack. I'm not aware that whether or not you've sent a letter to Governor Abbott, I don't believe you have, but would it be fair to say of the balance of the governor's $50 million remaining balance in his disaster relief fund, that Harris County might be able to utilize some of those dollars to finish restoration, to cover debris removal, to do things to get us back on our feet?
Well, there's a number of things we could use the money for. We're not asking, at least I'm not asking for money for debris removal. I really want to use that money to try to work on infrastructure and as look at buyouts and things like that. I think the key thing is to be able to show something really tangible for whatever money we get. And I hope it's more than $50 million, but the reality is when you take a look at the responsibility that Harris County has, like the judge mentioned earlier, not only in the unincorporated area, but in the city as well. So with all our channels in there. So we definitely need a lot of millions of dollars.
And I want to thank you personally for your support of my fireworks bill, which got me into the Century Club. Many of you that don't know what the Century Club is, it means 100 of my colleagues voted against the bill. So I'm glad you mentioned it so that everyone realizes it is a real issue. I'm sure none of my colleagues here on appropriations voted against it because they're just that kind of folks. But thank you for all you guys are doing.
Thank you.